Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome back to Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am here today with Brian shaking his head and Cody. What's up, Brian? Back from vacay, huh? You finally decided to come join us?
Can't you tell by my tan?
No.
No.
We saw a picture of Elon Musk today without a shirt on. You're a little
Stop
darker
it.
than him.
Dude, look at the difference in color just in these arms.
Yeah.
He really just wanted to
got-
show his arms. You know that, right, Mark?
And the one I got driving to Columbus for 2 hours, not even in Florida.
Cody, I don't
Yes,
think
sir.
I don't think we've been on the same episode since your birthday.
Maybe. I think we did Thursday together, right? Or am I crazy? Or did I not do Thursday? Maybe you could be
didn't do
right.
Thursday. Yeah.
I
What's
am a
up?
little older, so it's possible.
Did you pull anything like your back hurting? What's going on?
So I mean, this 100% was not teed up, but I am having back trouble because I played golf 2 days in a row and it just can't take it.
Wait, you played golf and you would never play with us?
And 2 days in a row at that, Brian.
2
I
days in
know.
a row.
What a monster.
What is this? No, Brian asked a good question. We need you to explain.
It is 100% just the drive. It really is.
Whatever. We offer to come to you every time.
Oh no, I've been 100% game for that. You guys want to come to
You
Mansfield?
have.
I'm down.
You have.
I'm down.
Yeah, you said that, and then I texted you about 2 days, and you were like,
You usually text on the same day in his defense, Brian. You're
And
like,
we were looking
Cody, you
for
want to golf
pitching-
today?
Yeah, I mean, do you? Things come up. I have a day to golf, let's do it.
You have
Yeah, I
more days to golf than anybody because of being a teacher.
Dude, have a child.
Good point.
But I have a child
Good point.
and a job, Brian.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah,
mad
well,
at you for not being able to do it the same day.
You're doomed to be bad at golf then. That's all it is.
It was actually only 9 holes both times too. So 18 holes over the
Ew.
course of 48 hours. And I've got a lat that is not doing well.
Dude, Mario refuses to play 9 holes.
Oh, it's the worst, dude. At nine-hole golf is not for me. I need.
I walk
18.
though.
Oh,
You walked?
I'm cheap. I'm so cheap.
Dude, you
I mean,
monster.
it's like $3.
No, I
It
would
is
card,
not
I
$3.
would card
It's
if
like
I'm playing with someone
18.
else. If I'm by myself, I just walk. But if I'm with
The
someone,
cart
I'll
is not
card it.
18.
Carts are expensive. They're at
They
least
are pretty
12.
expensive.
They're not $3.
The place I play, I think walking is 14 and with a cart is 27, I think.
Oh, I'm carding it all day.
That is a luxury, much like toilet paper, I will spend money on.
I'm
But-
just not good enough. I don't want to lug my bag through this.
Well, if I
freaking
show you guys
IV.
something to make fun about, do you know what that is? That's old man Cody's push cart.
Did
I
you
actually
use
have
a
a push
push cart?
I do.
Oh,
It is
I'd
great.
use
It's
I'd
absolutely
use a
great.
push cart for sure. No,
you
that's
have to. If you're walking, you have to.
Yeah, this.
It's actually called the push cart.
Yeah, I'm not the only young person because it used to be, you had to be older to do it, but people are wising up.
That's not wise at all to me. No.
Honestly though, the argument for a cart with my level of golf, there's a really fair argument because I mean, I'm literally like this fairway to like the woods line back on the other side of this
Yep.
fairway, and then over the green, like I can do a mile in a par 5.
You probably do get some good exercise.
I do. Yeah, I do. It's usually like 5 miles, I think, something like that. Maybe it's like 4. Yeah.
Speaking
That's
of
good stuff.
good exercise, I went and played basketball today because I noticed our random topic for today is activities to help us stave off looking like Leonard Fournette. I went and played basketball, and let me tell you, man, I was getting about half an inch every time I jumped. My legs were literally shaking. I was short on every jumper. Oh my God. It was so rough. And my torn labium was not helping either.
Is it a
He said it
labium? I
again.
just wanna...
He does it
My
intentionally.
labrum, you guys are mishearing me.
So
Cody
here's the
always
one
like
thing
does
that
that like
surprised me
nervous
there.
laugh. Like, did he mess up?
Did
there?
he? Yeah. I actually feel everything you said there, Brian. Like the inch off the ground. Like what surprised me though, if I don't shoot for a while, it's gonna be lights out. Like that's how it goes. And then if I start playing consistently, it's bricks all day.
Cody, it's lights out when you haven't played in a while, but you're in shape. When you're not in shape and you have literally no legs underneath you.
That could be true.
But man, I was kind of impressing myself that I wasn't like the most out of shape person there. That's for sure.
You could at least get up and down the court.
Oh, heck yeah. And I was trying to win. Me and Colin always used to, in college when we played, we would always like, Colin would legit hate people we played against. Like he would find any little thing. He's like, that dude celebrated his shot. He was doing it in our face. I'm like, Colin, I wouldn't actually say anything. I'd just agree with him. And then we'd both hate him together. We were pretty much the most hated people at Akron, I think.
I know you didn't appreciate my game in rec ball in college.
Dude, I wanted you to just play more.
It's like, all you do is shoot threes. Why don't you slash? He's like, make a cut.
Nothing. Cody could like dunk, but he wouldn't go near the rim.
Yeah,
I used to
Steph
ball
Curry
back
age.
in
I
my
wanted
day.
to be Steph.
Yeah, Mario, the whole team cheered Mario on when he made a 3 once.
Yeah. I was gonna tell that exact same story, and I think these guys might be watching, but it's a great story. We were on a rec team. Brian asked me to join it, not because of my skill, but because they needed a body.
No,
didn't play too much. I got out there, and I think I might have been the only basket I made all season, and they were cheering me on like I was a friendly neighbor kid. Like, he did it. And I'm just out there like, let's go.
Mario, I've only played with you a couple times, but I 100% have your NBA comp or former NBA comp. And it's to a T.
Oh.
At least with what I saw. You're a hustler, and every team needs a hustler. You're Deli. Did you just say Deli?
Deli.
Yeah, 100%.
We'd always compare him to that.
Yeah.
That's honestly probably like, and Deli is like a good comparable because like how good he was in the NBA compared to all the other level of talent is what I was to you guys, but I ran a lot.
I think Jacob is currently watching this episode. He was in that league with us too. Shout out to Jacob. I missed those days.
So Brian gave his activity to not look like Leonard Fournette. I'll give mine, and it's sitting and watching TV. Right now, I'm currently just growing on the dad bod, man. That is just where I'm currently at. I've been trying to get onto the treadmill a lot more, and I've been sucking the past week. Now I got 2 dogs here. It's going to be a little bit tougher. I was playing video games and tried walking, which was great, but it also wasn't really moving too much.
Which is insane. I don't know how you can literally like your head's bobbing around and you can.
It does have to take away some success. It has to.
Well, I was doing pretty good.
About as good at video games as he was at basketball, so it wasn't really making that much of a difference.
No, it's all about the same. Cody, do you have any for us before we kick in here?
I mean, honestly, mine right now is walking golfing. I know you think I'm crazy, but I legit am like, yeah. I mean, I walked 4 miles.
Golf?
I feel good about it. When do I go golf?
Are you getting the twilight rates?
No, it's usually a random afternoon where my schedule clears up and I'm like, I'm going to go. Because it's 6 minutes from my house and I can walk 9 in an hour and a half. It's
a lot of places. So I'm guessing they don't offer the twilight rate then. A lot of places around me offer like after 4 o'clock, it's like they take $20 off.
I'm usually like 2 or 3, but if that's a thing, I need to know because I've been doing this all wrong. If I'm playing at 3 o'clock and then I could get a cart for the same price at 4.
Look it up or ask them.
Yeah. Yeah, really just golf for me. I'm trying, but I mean, I'm not like I'm playing that much, so I'm not trying very hard to avoid the dad bod.
I mean, golf is great, but once you start drinking, it just kind of takes away. I mean, you're walking, so you get a little bit more exercise than us in cart path.
Yeah.
let's jump in. Brian, how many days till kickoff?
52.
Oh, that was
can
the
read.
least exciting way of saying
Why
it.
would I
thought
be
you were gonna
excited
scream.
about looking
Do
at
Ray
Ray
Lewis style?
He murdered a guy.
Well,
There we
come
go.
on. No regrets.
I actually looked into it once. I think, never mind. We're just not going to get into it. Let's go ahead.
52 days till kickoff. I am amped, ready, way too obsessed with football right now. We want to get into some news, and I don't have any visuals for you guys because I'm pulling up the actual articles. So let's get this over here. Brian, this was the first one on here. Once I show a screen.
These are important news articles.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah. So Nick Saban,
We got an edgy
former
show today,
coach,
guys.
It's not allowing me
former
to.
coach
It's
for
not
the
allowing
Miami
me to share
Dolphins.
screen. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. There it goes. There it
Shannon
goes.
Crowder brought a couple strippers into the locker room. Nick Saban, the faithful, God-loving man and wife-loving man that he is, he ran away. He did the anti-Urban Meyer. And that's coming out now when it should have come out 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I don't know how long he's been at Alabama.
Real talk. I mean, everybody's making a big joke out of it, and it's a hilarious thing. But if you are his wife, how pumped are you when you see that come out? You're
I'm
like,
super
wow.
pumped. I'd do the same thing probably.
Oh, yeah. So Lauren's watching tonight?
Yeah. I mean, no. I just love my wife, Cody.
Go ahead at this one, Cody.
All right. Apple's the most likely winner of Sunday ticket rights. $3 billion a year. That's a hefty little piece of change there.
I have a lot to say about this because there's part of me that's optimistic in the sense of like, okay, maybe they raise subscription rates $5 more than I think it's currently $5 right now. Make it 10, and they just give you a Sunday ticket. But that's optimistic. The actuality is probably going to be like Apple TV is staying the same price. If you want Sunday ticket, you got to pay us $350 or something crazy like it always
it's now
is.
$299. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this sucks for me.
What's your reasoning?
Wait, you already don't you have
DirecTV?
Apple ticket or Apple TV?
I have it until like August 1st, and then my subscription's done. I had 6 months free with the PS5. My reasoning is that I've had Sunday ticket for the past like 5 years while Jess was in college, Mario's wife. And I was using her email and getting the student discount for like $100 for Sunday ticket. Or actually, I think I added it onto Hulu last year for like $80, which was pretty sweet because we already had a sports package.
That is sweet. Man, Jess has been helping you out, B. Might have a homie hopper on our hands here.
Oh, God. You love that phrase, Cody.
I
Cody
do.
He's like,
I'm not going to lie.
I got
I've
this
used
in
it
my
more than
back
once.
pocket. Yeah. Beat reporter saying Penny is by far the number one in Seattle. I think Rob and I talked about this. I really can't remember. To me, I'm just going to kick off and say this means absolutely nothing to me. And I say this for a reason. Because if they want to give him 20 carries a game, and it's to a guy that has proven to not withhold putting this much pressure on his legs, then it just is saying, okay, KW3 is going to come in here sooner than we think. Because I think I already knew that he was going to be the lead back at least.
On the contrary, Mario, I think Penny's going to run away with this, and we're not going to ever hear KW3's name again.
I don't know if you actually believe that or if you're just giving a counterpoint.
I'm just giving a counterpoint because you drafted him in our Dynasty League this past
Yeah, no,
week.
and I promise I'm trying not to be biased about this. This is kind of the stance I've taken since we've been talking about the two of them. I think KW3 is the guy here. I don't know if that means for next year. God, Rob loves him some Rashad Penny. Last but not least, Leonard
Real
Fournette
quick, can I hit on that real quick? Because I have a thought. So Mario, you and I texted about this a little the other day, and I said, man, as I dive into Rashad Penny, horrible injury history, like it feels a lot like Raheem Mostert, that kind of situation. You used that example, and all that's true. But if he really is going to be as good as he was last year at over 6 yards a carry, and not even saying that good, but let's say he's even 5.2, 4.9, just a good enough player, you can't take him off the field. I'm not hyping this as a Penny thing because I think you're right with that there's likely an injury. but it's gotta slide Walker down draft boards a little bit to me. Now, you might say, hey, but if they give him 20 touches, it's happening by week 3. But you got to build in a little fear that they give him 20 touches through 8 weeks. And if you've got a number 2 back who's getting very little work for 8 weeks, you can't draft him where Walker's going right now.
So yeah, maybe. Walker's going right around the 100 mark.
That's what I was going to say. He's going late.
And Penny was going right around the same mark, but he's been moving up drastically from this.
Yeah, but if a backup running back was suspended for 6 games, you wouldn't be taking him in the 8th round. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about backup running back that I know he's not suspended, but I'm using that as a comp of like, hey, he's probably not going to get much field time for a while.
Don't forget the Seahawks have the worst ranked offensive line in the league as well.
Yes. And I think this is to a point where I'm like, I don't think I'm taking Penny because he's just going to be more expensive by August 28th or whatever, whenever people's teams are drafting. But like KW3 seems like a good dart throw at the later rounds, especially if he gets into 11th, 12th round. Like I think
guess
this is a good
that happens, but yeah,
that's kind of that's going to happen.
Well, I guess that's kind of my thing. Where he's being drafted now, I don't think you can take him there with this news,
Which is
in
10th.
my opinion. And I know it's not.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be 100. Wouldn't be 10th. It'd be late 8th, early 9th, I guess. Early, yeah.
I'll double check his ADP. Leonard Fournette has joined the Dad Bod squad. Cody, this question's for you. Does this move the Rachaad White needle at all for you yet?
So what I did, I actually booked a flight to Tampa. Lenny and I are going to hit the buffet.
And then go walk
it through
golf.
a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to take him out. We're going to walk 9.
Just 9.
Yeah. No, honestly, it really doesn't. And I can understand why people are concerned, and I'm not excited about it. So if you wanted to downgrade Lenny a little bit, just out of some of this fear, I'm okay with that. But to me, it doesn't do anything to Rachaad White. I mean,
Cody,
I'm not even sure he's going to officially be second string.
Cody, do you think Lenny has walked 9 all summer?
Probably not. I think Lenny, well, here's the thing. Keep this in mind. That new 3-year contract that Tampa gave him, they're committed to him. That's what I'm saying here. He probably bought a big enough house that the walk to his fridge is like 3/4 of a mile each way. And so he's getting more steps than you think.
Dude, you do wonder, though, is this like a...
Eddie Lacy?
No, I'm trying to think of... I keep thinking of NBA players. You know, when they get the bag and then they just completely, like, check out. They're like, don't care anymore.
Can I take a quick pause real quick? I'm going to come right back. I'm a mess tonight. But I'm a mess tonight. I gotta put shout out Mama Austin for the sign for my birthday.
Oh, the Dad Bod sign. Yeah.
Yeah. You've seen the sign in the background. Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't awkward at all.
Great pause. Great pause.
Your thanks was great.
Very organic. It was beautiful.
Let's keep this trade.
I would hear, Mario, your thoughts. I mean, like if someone, because Lenny's also said it's laughable that they think he weighed 260, and that's straight from his mouth, which to some degree I kind of believe.
No, wait. I thought it was laughable that they said he used to weigh 228 because last year he weighed 242 or 245.
Right. And to me, when I look at him, does he look big? Yes, but he doesn't look 260. That number doesn't seem right to me. So I think it's a little blown out of proportion personally.
A tiny bit, but like we heard this report when he came into training camp that he was a little hefty. We saw the picture.
Yep.
I don't even want to say hefty. He was a little Dad Bod squad, right? Like
he's
I wanted to reach out to him on Twitter and say, hey, bro, join the gang. But I felt like that was kind of made. I think this is more than just noise, though, because we're now bordering training camp
over or 30.
No, he laughed at people for saying that he was 228 last year. He was really about 242, 245.
No, but I saw a report that said his coaches want him to be at 230 or 235 or something.
I don't know.
I just saw that the coaches were apparently upset. I didn't see a number.
Yeah, they don't want him to be 260, and I think he could chop some of that weight. I think he's between 10 and 15 pounds away, and to me, that's weight that most NFL players are probably cutting this time of year. At least the bigger guys.
Do you think NFL players ever get like liposuction?
Oh God.
That's such a stupid question.
I think
But
recovery
it
would be a
just popped
problem.
in my head real quick.
Yeah, you could tell it was one of those questions that popped in your head, and I was just,
Yeah.
it was laughable.
You know, I got no hair,
immediately the
so
moment it
the thoughts they really get in easily now.
came out. Let's get started. Today we're gonna do the AFC South for our divisional breakdown. And we're going to start off with the Colts. Brian, you had a story on the Colts, yeah?
Yeah. So the Colts recently, there was a man in, oh, you even have the thing here. Man in Lafayette. He, which is in Indiana, apparently. There was a burning house. This guy ran into the house, saved a bunch of children. I believe he saved like 4 of them. And then they told him that there was still one more in. He went back in, saved that one. And he told the police afterwards, he said, I was just running like the running back for the Colts, which was a weird way to phrase it. And so one of the top comments on the story I saw from user KAC937 was that one of the children was quoted as saying, "Thank God he didn't run like Trent Richardson."
That is
it's so bad.
Too freaking funny.
It is.
Is that a real quote, or you think this is somebody on Reddit just making that up?
No, it
definitely
was
made
just
that up.
somebody made it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no way that was.
And I'm a bozo. I'm an idiot. I
If
fell
was,
for it.
though,
All right.
it's been legendary.
That's a good intro to our Colts talk here. So let's talk about the most obvious, the most recent addition, Matt Ryan. I guess not most recent, but the biggest. So I guess the question is, are you drafting him in a single QB redraft league? Is there any interest there? Is he even a guy that, like, if you fade QBs, you might get him as a second? And I'll start this with you, Cody, because you love QBs.
Depends who he's my second for, is the way I'll say it. So, like, if I'm taking Trey Lance, I could live with him as my second. And what I mean by that is if I'm taking him as my second, he's my protection on a
Safety
high
blanket.
upside.
Yep.
Yeah. Whereas a lot of times I'm more the guy who I'll take let's say it's a Stafford or a Carr, and then I'll take one of those stabs late of like, hey, this guy could be like QB3. You know what I mean? So I'm usually the reverse of that setup. If I'm going to take a second one, my flyer is my later one. So I guess maybe there's a scenario, but I just feel like you're still going to be able to get guys that myself and others like more. A Kirk Cousins, a Derek Carr, a Dak Prescott. I think even if you fade QB, you can still land those guys pretty safely.
I don't know if I like those guys more necessarily.
Oh, I do.
I think I like them about the same. Mario, do you have that picture that I put in, or should I just read the stats? Because I'd like to bring them up just to compare Matt Ryan to what Carson Wentz did last year.
Oh, is this a Reddit post? Yeah, I think you're going to have to. Oh, no, there we go. There we go. Let's get it over here. Boom. Sorry, it's not as fancy, but it was quick.
Tiny. So anyway, I'll read this for the visually impaired. So Matt Ryan, last year, on target throws from a clean pocket, he ranked 9th. Carson Wentz was 30th. On target throws on non-screen passes, he was 7th. Carson Wentz was 31st. On target throws under pressure, he was 3rd. Carson Wentz was 26th. On target throws that were 15 plus yards, he was 5th. Carson Wentz was 16th. So to say that it's an upgrade is a little bit of an understatement, especially because Matt Ryan's offensive line last year was complete trash. And who was he even throwing to? Olamide Zacharias or
Russell Gage, Olamide, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Pitts is a stud, but the rest of that team is rough. I just think this is going to be a huge upgrade. And I really do think the Colts are basically just going to run away with the division this year.
Here's where I struggle. Go ahead, Mario. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I was just going to say I'm really on Brian's side on this, and then I don't think you guys are saying differing things, because when we're essentially talking about fantasy outlook for Matt Ryan, I do think he could sneak into the top 12. I don't think that's like that situation. I'm not ranking him there. I'm not necessarily expecting it happen. But there's a possibility he could sneak into the top 12.
I would say there's a possibility 24 guys could do that, though. So I don't think that's a huge.
But Matt Ryan has done it a ton over his career.
Definitely.
I think what needs to happen for Matt Ryan to finish in the top 12 is for some of the rushing quarterbacks to go down or just have rough years. Because like if you're just ranking quarterbacks based purely off of passing, I mean, he's like a top 5 guy probably.
Yeah, honestly, those stats were good. Like that's a really good thing comparing them, and it tells a big story. Here's what I wonder. I wonder if those stats actually translate to fantasy, because all we're talking about here is fantasy, not is it a QB upgrade? Because it sure didn't last year for Matt Ryan, and I think the weapons are better here, but this is not an elite receiving core overall in any
Debatable.
way. Ooh, I don't know that it is.
Dude, have you heard of a man named
Well,
Mo Alley Cox?
There's another Zach that nobody knows of on this team that's the wide receiver too.
No, Pascal. He's nasty.
Yeah,
he's in Philly now. Zach Pascal's in Philly.
Is he?
It's Alec Pierce or Paris Campbell is in.
That's embarrassing, Cody. You didn't do your research.
It's embarrassing.
Well, and you run a fantasy podcast.
And honestly, not a tight end. Like, I don't buy the Mo Alley Cox or any of that. Like, I don't think it's a Matt Ryan issue, and I don't think it's a Colts issue. I think this team's going to be fine. I don't think this team's built to give you a highly effective fantasy quarterback.
So let's talk about that, because the Colts threw 521 times last season, which I was a little surprised about. It's definitely a run-heavy offense, right? 521 times. I want to start by saying, let's talk about Michael Pittman. So if we're expecting Colts to throw 521, I'm expecting them to maybe be closer to 540, 550 with Matt Ryan. Maybe that's a little too rich. But how does that affect the receiver? So, like, what are we thinking as far as Michael Pittman? Last year, he went 88 for 1,082, 6 TDs stat line. What is, Brian, I'm going to kick off with you on this because this is your guy. What are we expecting from Michael Pittman? And keep in mind, Matt Ryan has, I can't speak for tight ends, but he doesn't necessarily load his receivers with touchdowns, at least not in the past few years.
Psych. Calvin Ridley, Roddy White. Come on, dude.
Roddy White is not in the past few years, Brian.
It feels like it was yesterday.
Hold
on. I thought of something while you were rambling. I thought of something. So, you know where you want Matt Ryan? You want Matt Ryan in the Scott Fish Bowl, because they award points for completion percentage, and he's going to have a great offensive line, and I think he's going to just be a great pocket passer this year. I think that's a solid pickup in the SFB. So anyway, for Michael Pittman, his stats this year just add 100 to every line, and that's what he's going to finish with this year. 106 touchdowns, 1,100 yards. Chalk it up. No,
Cody,
really, I
think
Michael
I'm just
Pittman was
okay.
wide receiver 11 last year. I don't see him dropping out of the top 12 unless he gets injured or something.
I've got him for 95, just under 1,200 and 9 touchdowns.
I think that's about where I have him as well.
So, I mean, his ADP is, he finished wide receiver on standard. His ADP has largely gone up as we progress towards the season. 17, wide receiver 17 last season, which I also don't think he would regress from that. He had Carson Wentz last year. This year he gets Matt Ryan. Whether his TDs stay the same or even slightly dip a little bit, I think the reception total goes up a tad bit, and his yardage is probably closer to 1,200, 1,300 yards.
Mm-hmm.
If he's probably close to early third ADP right now. Like, it's getting pretty rich. And I'm going to go to you, Cody, and say, like, at what point are you out on going Michael Pittman here? I'll get you an updated ADP right now, too.
I'd like to know what
41.
wide receiver he's going. What wide receiver is that? Do you have that by chance?
He is wide receiver. 1, 2, 3.
All right,
13.
His fingers here.
It's still okay.
It said it on the left.
Yeah. I think that's still okay. I think I have him ranked about 10. I think he's at 10 for me. And once you get inside of the top 12, I think you start considering other factors like, hey, has a guy done it before? Because that inherently makes it more likely to me. And so even though I have a guy ranked at 10, if I'm sitting there staring at him or Keenan Allen, and I think I have Keenan Allen at 11, depending on my roster construction, that might, give me some Keenan Allen love. So I think he's still okay. I think he's right priced is what I'll say. But I don't think
I think he's rich.
I think like you say though, Cody, like you mentioned with Matt Ryan and being your safety blanket, I think Michael Pittman is a very safe pick. There's nobody else really in Indy to threaten him for targets there. Like, if you're going to pick Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle over Pittman, I think you're dumb because we don't know how that's going to look this year. Like if you pick one or the other, you're basically gambling. Like I don't either. They're both going to hurt each other's values, or one of them is going to be way better than the other one, and you're going to look stupid holding the bag. So like there's some situations like that where I'd just rather have the safe, at least I think, pretty much
We're predicting it to
top
be
15 guy.
the volume guy.
Yeah.
And I'm with you because like that's the upside you're buying with Michael Pittman, especially at that price. You're assuming this is going to be Matt Ryan's target, and there's not much competition. So let's go to the only one that I really want to talk about. We're going to skip Paris Campbell in this offense because I think largely the three of us don't necessarily trust his health currently. He could be great, but like I don't think we're maybe throwing a dart on him in best ball. Alec Pierce, I think he's an interesting name to keep in mind, and I think he's a great guy to target late in drafts. So if we're expecting Matt Ryan to throw, say, 540 to 550, and I'll even range it to 521 to 550, do we think Pierce can emerge and become a 110 to 125 target wide receiver? Because I do.
I don't
either.
Where do you guys see those targets going, though? Like
it was so spread around last year, and I think
it was so spread around. And they have a lot of guys that are like decent. Like they're not great or anything. Like Paris Campbell's, he's pretty good.
If he plays.
Yeah. And they have a couple other guys like that on their roster. I can't think of any of their names because.
So they spent a second round on Alec Pierce. He's a big built receiver. He's fast. Like there's a lot to like about him. I mean, he's going pretty stinking late in drafts right now where I think the upside is very valuable. And I don't want you guys to only tell me like, should we buy, like if we're only talking about ADP, we're not talking about it enough, but his ADP currently is wide receiver 65, 177. I think that's free. I think there's a sneak. Yeah, it's a sneaky pick.
Yeah, it's a pretty good dart throw, I guess.
Let me ask you.
You've convinced me. You've convinced me.
Let me ask you this, Mario.
Now. So 105 touchdowns for him, not as many as Michael Pittman.
So we hope for a Pittman jump in targets. He was at 129 last year. I think we're all hoping to see 135,
140.
Yeah. And so even if you say Matt Ryan gets a handful of extra attempts, that probably accounts for it. So let's just call that a wash. Matt Ryan more attempts and Pittman extra targets. The second leading receiver on the team last year was 69 targets.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. That's Wentz though. Like we've seen Matt Ryan support two wide receivers. Wentz has largely, and we'll talk about a little bit of that scheme when we talk about Doug Peterson later. Wentz has largely kind of moved the ball around, but we're talking about Matt Ryan, who is kind of supported two wide receivers almost his whole career. We had Roddy White and Julio. Then it went straight into
2021.
I can't believe I forgot Julio.
Yes. And then it went Julio and Calvin. And I mean, there was a gap where it was just Julio who got loaded. But like now we're talking about another young guy. We've seen Matt Ryan do it with young receivers before. I think there's some to love here.
Maybe this is where I'm crazy, but to me, it's not a Matt Ryan factor. It's the Colts offense. Crazy. To me, it's the Colts offense.
Cody, as a guy who's hated Matt Ryan his entire career,
I actually have owned Matt Ryan in fantasy, and I've owned his receivers.
Never owned Matt Ryan, except maybe on like a waiver wire week or something.
I actually really think Matt Ryan's still a good quarterback. I really do think Matt Ryan's still a good quarterback. It's never been a Matt Ryan knock. I just don't see 30 plus touchdowns on this roster. And he's going to have that to be even relevant in fantasy whatsoever.
You don't see 30 touchdowns? I don't think that's crazy.
30 something. Even 30 is going to finish him what? QB 16 probably. I mean, Wentz was like QB 20 last year with 27 touchdowns and 7 picks. If he's not going to run it all, realistically, he's got to throw 34, 35 to break into the top 12. And I definitely don't see that.
How many did he have last year? I'd look it up on my computer. It'll explode.
I think I want to move on from the Matt Ryan talk because we've talked about him quite a bit. Do we have anything to mention on JT? Like, I mean, it's one of those guys where it's kind of obvious where we're going to take him.
20
would have won in most.
20 top 3 pick.
Yeah, that's bad. He's top
20
guy, top 1. I would probably take him 1. I mean, do we expect any sort of regression?
Touchdown regression, I'm calling for, but it won't matter. I mean, he's still going to be that good, in my opinion. He had 18 touchdowns on the ground. That is,
that's high.
And I'm not talking he's going to have 10. I'm saying that number comes to 13 or 14, which you feel it in fantasy. It's not quite, but he's still the number one running back at 14 touchdowns probably. With
Do
the other
you
things
feel
he does.
forced to take him at the 101 when, like, you know it's
100%.
going to be there, but you're almost confident that he's regressing? It
You-
sounds that way because he put up what 1,600, 1,800.
Yeah, I thought it was like 16 or 18. I thought it was 18.
It's 1,800 and 1,818 TDs.
So
not
we're
counting
almost
not
confident
counting
in
receiving.
some regression.
He was a 2K total with receiving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's definitely going to regress in yards alone. I mean, and touchdowns, obviously. I don't know. I just think they're gonna. I think they're gonna throw a little bit more, be a more even, balanced team. And he's definitely not having. No, I'll sound stupid if I say definitely not having 18 touchdowns again, because I mean he could, but
Yeah,
I don't see it.
It's 20 total. Is it 18 just rushing? I mean, 20 touchdowns.
But to your question again, Mario, do I feel obligated to take him? I mean, honestly, so I was gonna say like Eckler easy, but I'm starting.
He also had 20 touchdowns.
I'm starting to get worried about Isaiah Spiller there. Like the Chargers have been desperately looking for a backup running back for like 5 years now.
Yeah.
And they've gone through what? Kalen Ballage, Josh Jackson, who's
Justin
the other
Jackson.
guy? Josh Kelly. And
Justin
all
Jackson.
these guys are just like not getting it done. So like I think Spiller's going to have the opportunity, and if he shows, anything, then they're going to put him in a lot, because last year they used those guys a lot and they all just kind of fell on their faces.
Here's the thing about here's the thing I'll throw in on Taylor real quick.
But yes, I would take Taylor.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. The guy with the Justin Herbert shirt derails the conversation to the AFC West. He just went on a whole thing about Isaiah Spiller. It was great info, but it was funny.
Here's where I think you do feel pressured. I think you will surprise anyone that you don't take him 1-1. But here's where it feels good. Even though I'm calling for some TD regression and Brian mentioned yardage regression, he can have regression and still be the RB1 this year. A pretty good chunk of it. Like it was a runaway. Like
last year was weird. A little weird last year.
Well, that season he just put up would have been, I think, RB1 like 4 or 5 seasons or something like that, I thought.
I feel like we're in a weird transitional period.
One.
I feel like we're in a weird transitional period for running backs right now, where we're just kind of waiting for the next like crop of running backs to take over. And I'm sure you guys have seen this stat floating around about how Jonathan Taylor was like the lowest scoring RB1 of all time or something like that.
See, I didn't think that was the case.
Yeah. And
okay.
And I mean, Derrick Henry was demolishing it in the first half of the year until he went down. So I mean, honestly, I could see Derrick Henry as a top pick.
And I guess
some
it's going
people
to depend on
CMC
scoring
still,
format,
which is wild.
Yeah, it's going to depend on scoring format, I guess, too, because Taylor's not a big receiver, really.
No, but he is safe. Everybody on the Colts is safe this year.
Yeah,
he is safe. David Johnson in 2016 had 407.
That was the 1,000 season, or almost 1,000 season.
Yeah, Todd Gurley put up 383, which was like the second lowest in 2017. In 2018, Barkley had 385. Christian McCaffrey with 471 in 2019. Alvin Kamara with 377. So it's not that crazy that JT did what he did, because he had 360. So he's not. It's like
he's lower than I thought.
But
it is lower than I thought, though, because I thought it's lower than I thought.
All right, let's get over to the Jaguars. Brian has on here dark horse ? Brian, elaborate.
I have dark horse ? Because we got a new coach, we got a new high paid receiver, we got Sunshine at QB. He's throwing to somebody besides Shenault and Marvin Jones. ETN should be back. We're feeling a little excited about ETN. So, the Jaguars could come in and make some noise. I think ultimately they're going to have like a Cardinals type season where maybe they win like their first 6 games and then they lose the rest of the season out. But, I wouldn't be too surprised if some people are talking about the Jaguars in, like, I'm trying to think, December, I guess.
And when you say talking about them, like in contention for a playoff spot, you're saying?
Oh, yeah, they'll be hyped on them and then they'll fall flat.
I've got a weird feeling they will have fallen flat by about October.
Yeah, they could. I wouldn't be surprised by that either. Here's the news article I posted tomorrow also. The Jaguars released the results of a survey, and what the Jaguars fans want more of at their field is they want more shade because it is blisteringly hot, and they want a better team. I think it's funny that they mentioned that it's a feasibility survey, like just here's a better team.
I
Yeah,
also find
make it
that
happen,
shade
please.
seems to be more important.
It does say the shade, and also better team, please.
Yeah, I think they care more about comfort.
Hold on, am I crazy? The Jaguars have like
Brian,
pools at their stadium, right?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they have a fan section with
I-
literal swimming pools.
I
That
think
sounds like
you're
a place that
thinking
mistakes
baseball.
are made.
Well, it
I
is
think he's
Florida.
thinking baseball.
Yeah.
It might be a baseball stadium.
I think so. So like you mentioned the Jags could be like a sneaky cards team, which I think is pretty wild because I think the Cards.
No.
Out
I'm not
after they won,
comparing
like,
them to the
8
Cardinals this year. I'm comparing them to the Cardinals of years past.
They're fizzling out. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Where the Cardinals would win like 6 games to start the year, and then they'd, fizzle out.
Let's dig into some of the players that we're gonna kind of look at, and I think it's funny because we're going to another quarterback that we're probably not taking in 1 QB leagues, and lucky to be taking as a backup, if anything. T-Law, are we expecting any sort of jump? And if so, like, what's realistic here, and why would you feel that way? I'll start with you, Cody.
I guess I do expect a jump, but there's not really anywhere to go other than out of the league from where he was. And so when I say jump, it's kind of relative.
Do you mean like me jumping in basketball?
Yeah, right. So,
1 inch.
I think the team, there was dysfunctional leadership, dysfunctional coaching. Brian's right. They got a new receiver. They got ETN. I think there's a path where he has a better NFL quarterback season. But to say that I think there's any chance he's fantasy relevant would be a lie.
Yeah, I almost think that like in 2 QB leagues, super flex, whatever, I kind of get excited about if I fade the second getting.
He's in the top 24. Yeah, he's in.
And I think there's that outcome that Doug Peterson just brings the best out of this guy. He surrounded him with a ton of mid-level talent, but it's talent nonetheless compared to what he's had last year and what the coach he had last year in Urban. I don't think I want to dig too much on T-Law just because it's not something that we're focusing on redraft, but we're going to talk a little bit more about his target, Christian Kirk, his number 1 guy.
I wanted to jump on this early. So I actually think Christian Kirk, like you were talking about Alec Pierce being a sleeper, I actually think Christian Kirk is a huge sleeper. Like when he was on the Cardinals, I remember I loved watching him, and I thought he was going to be like the next top receiver for the Cardinals, and then he left and the Jaguars signed him, and everybody is just we all got the wool over our eyes because we're all just looking and laughing at the Jaguars for signing him to such a giant contract when they probably didn't need to. And people are so like dissuaded from that. And we're like looking at his contract value versus his playing value. And it might not be, they might not match up, but he's still a pretty good player and he's going to be their top target. They got to throw it to somebody. I think he's going to have a real chance to be like a top 20 guy.
Well, I am so glad that you kicked off with that because I have a lot to say about that. First, me and Robbie just made a trade. I sent him Christian Kirk and Ramondre Stevenson for Jerry Jeudy in our Dynasty League.
Wow.
I'm taking a dart throw on Jerry Jeudy, and I think it's a stronger dart throw than it is on Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk had his best year with 77, 982, 5 TD stat line. I don't see him passing this. So let's look at
he's never been the guy on his team though. There's always been Larry Fitzgerald.
Is he the guy now?
Is there going to be a guy on this team?
Dude, they paid him this much money. He's going to be their guy.
No, but are they going to have a guy? Like, does this team have a 1,000-yard receiver? I don't know.
I don't think they do. But let's look at Doug Peterson's history as a head coach with wide receivers. And Brian's going to say whatever he wants about the wide receiver weapons here, but he had 1 season where a wide receiver led his offense in reception.
Tyler Fulgham, right?
Travis Fulgham. You're killing the first names today. Travis Fulgham in 2020 with 524 yards. In 2019, the top 2 were both tight ends, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. The most by any wide receiver in his offense at any given time in the 4 years he was head coach there was 843 yards by Alshon Jeffrey in 2018. So now we're on an offense that is actually, if you think about it, if you squint your eyes, it's very similar to the offense that he ran in Philly. We got 2 tight ends, Evan Ingram, Dan Arnold, not quite as talented as Zach Ertz and Goddard, but 2 tight ends on this team. We have a bunch of kind of random wide receivers. We got Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Laviska Shenault. And a lot of time when Doug Peterson was coaching in Philly, it was like Travis Fulgham later in the years, Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar for a while. We had
who's the guy we
Jalen
drafted
Reagor
last
in
year?
probably
You were
2020.
playing highlight videos.
It's-
Jalen Hurts? No, not Jalen Hurts. God, I'm so stupid.
He's off today.
Oh my God, what was his name? Small dude.
Oh, that was Marquez Callaway that we were playing.
No, not Marquez Callaway. He was on the Eagles.
I didn't know
We
because
drafted him really late in Paulie's league, and you started pulling up highlights of him, and you're like, "This."
Oh, you're right.
Why can't I think of his name?
That wasn't Rager, right?
It was Rager.
not
It was Jalen Rager.
I was real excited. I thought he showed some flashes. So now we're looking at such a similar offense. In my mind, if you squint, like I said, you kind of have to see it. It's there. It's similar. The one person that I believe that can come out of this offense and have a nice season is ETN. No matter how T-Law does.
Right?
Way different. That one doesn't. Those ones don't match up.
No, we don't compare those ones. Everything else is not
squint everything else. Yes.
All right, makes sense.
So I don't know. Do you guys do you have any more that you want to say about Kirk, or do you want to kind of talk about Travis Etienne, or should I just kind of kick off to my Travis Etienne love?
I think you brought up a good point with the whole coach thing. I think it'll be a chicken and the egg thing. We won't actually know until this year.
It's a good point. I mean, because it was Alshon on the second half of his, I guess, the downfall for him.
And when he had weight problems and he was hurt all the time.
Flashbacks.
Here's the thing on Christian Kirk. Like, he really is going so cheap for being a number 1 receiver. He's borderline the cheapest number 1 receiver in fantasy drafts. So even if we say his ceiling's not there, his price is fine. Like, if someone says, like, hey, I think Christian Kirk's a safe wide receiver 4, and maybe he's got, wide receiver 2 upside in some scenarios, I can live with that kind of stance. But if anyone's like Christian Kirk for president, I just don't see it in this offense. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Unless Trevor Lawrence really balls out. I mean, it could happen.
Yeah, see, I think that's where we have to kind of distinguish this, is because, like, if there's not really a high ceiling on Christian Kirk, then he is a wasted pick in my mind, because he would never enter your lineup.
He could be a bye week fill-in player.
You think so?
He was a bye week guy with the Cardinals. I mean,
yeah. But again, you're not chasing that, so you're right in what you're saying. Like, you're never drafting a guy.
But actually, I was really shocked at how high he went in our dynasty the other day. Just because I thought Antonio Gibson fell like 5 rounds. I thought Christian Kirk was going to do the same, and he did not. He went right at his ADP.
Yeah, I think I think you see that a lot with running backs versus wide receiver and what happens to them in the NFL. So like I said, I think Travis Etienne is did you have one more thing, Cody?
Nope, I was going to say throw Etienne.
Yeah, so I think Travis Etienne is the only player on this team that will be QB proof. I have given my reasons. I talked about him a ton on a previous episode. So what's your thought about this backfield, Cody? Travis Etienne and James Robinson.
I like Travis Etienne a ton. Here's the one place, and I'm not going to be giving you a ton of maybe powerful reasons to pump the brakes, because I really do like the player. And I think the opportunity is fine. I don't think James Robinson's going away, but he's got, he's coming back from injury. Here's the thing I think about sometimes with Travis Etienne and sort of the rise that he's taken and where he's ending up. And I know you've got him in your top 12 running backs, I think.
Maybe 12.
Yeah. This guy's basically a rookie. We've seen nothing. And we don't look at him that way. We look at him like, hey, we know this guy's going to be a pass catcher, and we know he's the guy, and we know he can do this. Why? He hasn't stepped on an NFL field. And that's what gives me a smidge of pause, like putting him into that tier. Like, we wouldn't, I mean, in the vast majority of years, we wouldn't put a guy in the top 12 unless it's a Saquon Barkley or a one of those. I don't think an ETN is the type of player we would usually put in top 12 with having never stepped on an NFL field. To me,
I think he's more of that type of player.
I think you got to be.
He's going to be receiving.
See, to me, it's the freak of nature, like top 10 draft pick is the only guys as rookies getting drafted that high.
And I'm with Cody. I always think you sell hype, and if you got some crazy hype, you sell it and you get what you can.
Oh no!
Because most of the time, it doesn't work out.
That's not true.
This isn't really to hate on ETN. I really do like the player. I just think we're getting into a spot where, like, hey, we forget this guy hasn't played football in the NFL yet.
I think he'll be fine. But they did say they want to bring James Robinson back in and use him a lot when he comes back.
And I'm okay with that. Because and Cody and I had this discussion when we really got into ETN, and kind of where I'm at with it is like, if at 12, if you're a pass catching back, if you have, I don't know, 65 to 70 receptions, which is a lot. It's a ton, but he is a pass catching back who's done this with T-Law before. Then you're going to fall probably close to that 12 mark. If that alone, like with I don't want to say minimal rushing work, but maybe 150 to 170 rushes, that alone should get you to running back 12.
I don't know about 12, but it makes you an RB2 for sure. I'll at least give you that, which is solid. I think you're hoping for more,
right?
Maybe. I try to think of like a James White type of player, and I know he didn't get 150 rushes. I understand that. But you were talking RB3.
I think you're selling him short comparing him to James White, because James White was like legitimately only a pass catcher.
Just to the stats line Mario was giving of saying like, hey, this guy who doesn't have a ton of rushing work, but he catches 65 balls, that's a top 12 RB. I don't know if that's quite true to me.
Yeah, it's not, because James White was always like he was like a flex play.
Yeah, right. And he's talking more rushing attempts than James White. But I think you're right in saying that 150, 175 carries is the number, Mario. And so I don't think
that's if James Robinson comes back and is not
if he can actually come back from it.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's assuming he's back early. It is going to be rough. So DeAndre Swift had 151 carries last year, 62 receptions, and put him at RB15. So, I mean, you're kind of spot on with what you were saying as far as like, if that's his stat line, that's probably where he's falling. I do anticipate it better, but I was trying to put I think that's the floor. I really do. No, I will cement that.
And that's probably where we have just a little difference. I would say that's what I would stat him for. So RB 15 to 18 is what I would stat him for. Whereas that's your floor.
Yeah. You're really, but like for you to stat him there is just like saying, I am confident in James Robinson's recovery.
Semi-confident though. Like I don't need James Robinson to take 300 carries. Like,
no, but how many times are we expecting for this offense to run the ball?
I would think that James, assuming Robinson's semi-healthy and on the field, I would think Robinson and ETN, those two specifically, because you can get into what else there is. I think those two probably combine for, what do you think, 350, 375?
Yeah. And I don't know if James Robinson is going to carry 225 this year.
You don't think so? See, that's probably where I would be.
Torn Achilles.
And that's a huge piece of this. We'll know more closer to the season in terms of that. Like, if he's going to miss 6 weeks, obviously I'm going to back off of that statement. So
yeah, we'll keep trucking. Let's go to.
Let me look at one thing. I'm just curious. If you don't mind, give me just 1 second here. I've got him statted for 173 carries, and I only have him for 52 catches. That's probably where our difference is.
I feel like 173 carries is low.
It is low. It's very pass catching back numbers though.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's getting more. He'll get more than 200 if J Rob is out for half the year.
I agree with that.
Which I don't know if that's possible or what will happen there. But
and honestly, if J Rob's gonna miss 6 weeks, like I'll get right there.
He'll probably be over 200. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just at a spot where to me this is a rookie running back with competition on a not very good team. Like it just doesn't scream number 1 RB to me on paper.
We'll go over to the Titans. Brian had another story. Brian's been loading us up with stories, which have been great. Brian, kick us over to that story that you had from the Titans.
Do you have it ready to go?
Of course I do, dude. I'm always
there. It
ready.
Let's see. There it is. Oh,
but
it's actually changed. So there's a celebrity golf outing. And at the time of my adding this, he was Mike Vrabel, the coach, was tied for 69th. Nice. With Charles Barkley in this celebrity golf outing. So like right now he is currently tied at 64th with Nick Jonas, which is, I mean,
hey, look at Travis Kelce.
Is that 14
Alex
under?
Caruso?
That's insane though. 14 under. Alex Caruso. Got Emmitt Smith. Wait a second.
Pat McAfee.
These scores don't make any sense. Why?
I'm confused. I'm confused by them as well, Brian.
I think they're in reverse order.
Wait, total. Why is the highest number the best? They might have some weird rules. I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
But yeah, man, tied with who's it, Nick Jonas? Not very good.
Yep.
No also, shocker with Tony Romo though. That guy can
better than us.
Tony Romo it was on there at first the last time when we first pulled this up too.
Adam Thielen in third there.
I think Romo won a pretty big pro-am just last week.
Romo's nasty.
Yeah.
He is pretty good. What a talent. Good in the booth.
Yep.
Good on the golf course.
Beautiful dimples.
Mediocre on the football field.
Really weak.
Mediocre. He was. I'm not going to derail us. Let's keep going.
Well, the first question is here. We're going to the Titans. I want you both to just give a one-sentence answer on what you think about Derrick Henry this year, and it could be a compound sentence. That's fine. So start with you, Cody.
This is it, boys.
This is the final ride.
I think this is the final ride, and I think it's going to be a fine ride. So I'm not calling for it to derail, but I'm not going back to that trough again. This is it,
Brian.
But I'm willing to go there this year.
Man, that's tough. I do kind of feel the same way as Cody does. One sentence. He's really good.
I think he's going to shock the world this year and come back and look just as good. Now, I don't know if that continues, but I'm going to say he looks just as good as he always has.
We're the three high guys on him.
I don't think he's going to be on the pace he was last year, because last year's pace was
I think that's unsustainable. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The Titans line has gotten worse. They lost AJ Brown.
And I don't think his RB1 season either, but another 1,500 yard and 13 touchdown season is there for sure.
I think he comes out, he looks like what Cody, close to that stat line that Cody just said. And we start questioning, is Derrick Henry in the level? I don't want to say in the level of AP, but in that sort of category of RBs, because then that's another season of him proving it. I think this is the season that he could become an elite potential Hall of Famer.
I have to be honest, fathers. My faith has wavered.
Oh!
After Mario hit us with the offensive line rankings.
Touches. Oh. Tennessee
Titans
was
dropped
low.
quite a bit.
Tennessee
and
was
they're
low,
losing
according
all
to
their
PFF.
receiving threats, which was AJ Brown. And Robert Woods is still hurt. Treylon Burks is a rookie. I don't know,
But
man.
we'll get into them.
I hope I'm wrong, because I love watching Derrick Henry, but I'm thinking 1,300 is like the max for yards.
Oh, no way. I think he goes higher. I want to talk about
the ceiling has dropped a little bit.
That's gross. Brian is going to be changing his rankings, apparently. I want to talk about one guy that is just kind of mind-boggling to me, and I know I have him ranked super low right now. Ryan Tannehill was QB 12 last year. QB 12, and the world has largely written him off this season. Obviously, he's losing.
There's one question here. I can make this quick.
Okay.
Actually, there's one question here, Mario, and I apologize for interrupting, but I actually think this is 100% the question. Will he get
do it without
the rushing TDs? That to me, that's
he
the
got
question.
last season?
Yep.
He had
To me, that's the
6.
question. 7, I think.
But he's had a ton throughout his whole time with Tennessee.
But I think he's not going to be a big passer. He's just not. With these weapons, with this offense, with this offensive line, he is not going to put up big passing numbers. It's 100% a question: does he get the rushing touchdowns or not?
Am I wrong in saying that he's done this?
No, I think he has.
Every season he's had about.
I don't know about.
He's getting up there in age, though. He's like 35 now.
34.
He'll be 34
this season. He had He had 4.77 in
Sorry,
this
you guys both
offense.
just knew that.
So, well, I had it in front of me. He had 4 in 12 games in 2019, and then 7 in 16 last year, and 7 in last year. Those are all with Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and I'm not
maybe
saying
not
it.
seven
I'm not
last year.
saying it's a. I'm not saying it's a no. It's just like his passing stats. He threw for 3,700 yards and 21 touchdowns. That's not even a QB2 probably without the rushing. So it's
also
100% the rushing question.
Also talking about Tannehill's, his finish last year. The Titans were also the 1 seed in the AFC last year, which at least us three, are not giving them that respect this year. I think.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like they was just most probably close to one of the more underrated coaches in the league, in my opinion. I think he just gets he does a lot with the guys that he has. He made Tannehill a relevant quarterback. He kind of sparked the Derrick Henry era that we're living in. Like, he is just a great coach.
Yeah. I kind of disagree with the Tannehill thing, just because I feel like that was just Miami being Miami. Like,
could have been,
dude.
It could have been.
They went a
one
long
of those
time.
What did you say earlier? Chicken or egg?
On Miami, went somewhere else and became relevant. Lamar Miller, Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't know how to use their players, or didn't at the time, I guess. I don't know. I just feel like he was set up for failure in Miami, and the Titans were just a nice, stable organization. I do like Vrabel, though. I like Vrabel a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's a combination of the two, though. Like, Vrabel is really good with this offense, and the other guy that I just talked about, Derrick Henry, kind of brought him alive. Like, Derrick Henry was always behind somebody, but also it wasn't until Vrabel got there and kind of got him running.
I think you're right in saying that
the one guy that I really wanted
a breath of fresh air for this team, but I don't think this runs through the quarterback, in my opinion. Like, this,
no, I don't think so either.
Passing game is like when we down on the Titans, I actually don't think I'm down on the Titans. I think they're a potential wild card team, but it's not because of Ryan Tannehill and these passing weapons.
What I'm saying down is they were the 1 seed last year, and you're now calling them a wild card team.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. And I mean, no, I think the vibes I get with Ryan Tannehill, I always think of Alex Smith, even though Alex Smith kind of destroyed his last year in Kansas City. Those kind of are the same sort of QB play.
Tannehill's always been pretty mobile.
Tannehill was
7
and 20, Mario.
7 TDs.
He was QB 2020.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and he had the passing TDs that year. So he's like QB 7, QB 12 the last 2 years.
And we're writing him off at QB 25-ish. So let's kind of take a look.
Everybody looks at Derrick Henry on the goal line, and then he just does a little bootleg.
It scores. Yeah.
It scored.
So I want to talk about the weapons that he's going to be working with this year. We got Treylon Burks, who is going at wide receiver 45.
Getting high.
To me, this is a crime.
I feel like I've seen one higher than that.
It's possible. I could check my ADP, but I saw 40.
No, you're okay.
Wide receiver 45 is late.
It is, but I feel like I've seen him come off the board like I'm gonna butcher this, but like with receivers where I'm like, wow, those are not. Yeah,
because he's getting left for dead after the asthma reports, and people just keep fading and fading and fading. But at 45, I'm already buying. In our dynasty league,
we're gonna just trust some random reporter and not the Tennessee Titans medical staff that did their homework on a guy and invested all this time and millions of dollars in. No, I'm going to listen to the beat reporter who says he has asthma.
Yeah, and he definitely does. I think it's true that he has asthma, but they're like trying to make it sound like it's affecting his gameplay or affecting his training or whatever. This guy is going. Okay, so where is he? The round 1, pick 17 wide receiver in this year's draft, which is probably I think it was the 5th wide receiver off the board.
Yeah.
But we're talking about offense, maybe 6. There was 10, 11, 12, right? The 3 OSU receivers, Drake London.
It doesn't matter. Just move.
5th or 6th. What in this offense do we not expect him to just get loaded with targets? Like, what scares you about this offense? And I've been trying to avoid the comment, because I make fun of it. Why isn't he going to get peppered with targets here?
Let me ask you this. What do you call peppered? Like, what's that number? Let me ask it that way.
135.
'Cause
135.
135. That's a big number to me.
So where
And-
else are they going to go?
Well,
How
I mean,
long
I
till
think,
Robert
I
Woods
think
is
they're a
back?
low passing. I think they're a fairly low passing volume team last year to begin with. And
531 with Ryan Tannehill last year.
yeah, 531 is not a very big number. Do you
It's not
think?
small. With these offenses? With this offense, sorry.
I don't know. You could be right. I mean, do you think Robert Woods is just not a thing? Is that where you would be?
I have so many thoughts. I think Robert Woods is an awesome, excellent athlete. The dude is 30, 31, coming off a
he's
torn
30.
ACL, who we didn't see produce before he ended up on a McVay offense. Were we supposed to just magically believe that he was always this good,
kinda
or were we going to
disagree
believe
with
this
that.
was a product?
He had flashes in Buffalo.
What's flashes? Because if we're talking stats at all, it wasn't there.
Dude, you know I'm not going to throw any stats back at you right now. I just thought he was a pretty good guy in Buffalo until Stephon Diggs.
I remember in Buffalo, he never passed 700 yards. So, like, unless there were specific plays that you were like feeling it, he never passed 5 TDs.
How long was he there?
4 years.
That doesn't matter.
4 years, I think.
So, I mean, are we supposed to just expect him to come back off of ACL, age 30, 31? I don't got it in front of me right now, and just expect him to just dominate in this offense? I'm having a hard time believing it.
I just don't think. I'm just not sure anybody gets 135 targets, I guess is what I'm getting at with asking that question. Because like AJ Brown was barely over 100, if I remember right, all 3 of his years, and one of the years he was under 100. Now there's some injury stuff there, but like this is not to me an offense that is heavily targeted players per se. I don't feel that way
fair.
at least. And so when you talk about like, is there a chance that they're both 100 target receivers? I think that's a fairly reasonable possibility, and that's going to be hard to live with.
Yeah, I don't want to have him projected for 130, and I definitely need to update my projections because I think he's supposed. I think I'm a little higher. I want to be a little higher on him. I still think it's a possibility.
Like Jonnu Smith and Delaney Walker were always, viable options. I want to say Delaney was like a top 10 guy pretty much regularly. So it's not like they're going to not use their tight end anymore, which this year's Austin Hooper, I just found out.
Yeah. They're not so how do you guys feel about like? I personally think Austin Hooper's a sneaky pick in late, and I'm just going to touch that quick. Like I know we watched him as Browns fans and how washed he looked. But again, there should be some volume here. There should be something that like they might rely on Austin Hooper here.
I just didn't see an ounce of physical talent in that body.
It was bad. It was bad. It was real bad.
I mean, he didn't look that different than 31-year-old Gronk. Now, 31-year-old Gronk's good, so that's a bad comp. But you know what I mean, where it's like limping down the field, one arm's hanging down, maybe missing 3 toes. It looked a lot like that.
Yeah, he looked rough here. So, I mean, at best ball, I think it's fun to snag Austin Hooper late and maybe some if you take some tight ends late, it's not a bad dart throw because he's going almost undrafted. Brian, you wanted to bring up this picture.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up this picture to kind of reiterate what we've been talking about. So this is a graph that somebody made, I believe on Reddit. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me who made it, but this was yards of separation by pass catchers last year. And as you can see, the Chiefs were really high with Tyreek Hill up there, kind of creating all that separation and everything. Jets are actually surprisingly high. It really is kind of an indictment, or not an indictment, but a indicative of Zach Wilson not being able to get them the ball. Way down near the bottom, you have the Browns, which nobody is really surprised about. And then in dead last, we have the Titans.
So AJ Brown just wasn't getting separation here.
I mean, he was hurt a lot too, but yeah.
Yeah.
And also, this is taking into account, tight ends, wide receiver 2s, just whoever's on the field.
Yeah, they had Fursker, Nick Akeen, Westbrook. There's one other guy that was out there a ton.
Yeah, Westbrook's kind of been.
Their number 2 was no, Westbrook was the number 2, I guess.
Yeah, he was.
Maybe some Chester Rogers.
Let's.
I'm gonna derail slightly because I want to just real quick. I think They were 20. I looked it up because we kind of like got into this conversation with both the Colts and the Titans. And to me, they're very similar teams in terms of like their run happy offenses. The Colts were 27th and Tennessee was 26th in passing attempts. These are low passing volumes. I can't, and I know we're kind of painted as like, oh, 530 is not a bad number. 540 is not a bad number. It's pretty stinking low.
Yeah, no, and I think you're absolutely right in that. But I think the argument comes more to this. Like, these are both two of these same offenses are very, like, their wide receiver talent isn't deep. They're not coming trotting out Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd.
Agreed.
They're not trotting out Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson.
I think
So
about
the
halfway
volume
through
should
the
be
year
there
with
for the talented guys.
I think about halfway through the year with the Colts, they stopped trusting Carson Wentz. And I think that I feel like, and I don't have any stats in front of me or anything, but I feel like Jonathan Taylor really came alive at like second half of the year last year. And at the same time, Carson Wentz was, pretty much they were already shipping him off, printing the packing label, getting it all ready to go.
Okay. But
Like,
like, your
dude, their
stat,
coach
you just brought
loved
up
Carson
earlier.
Wentz. What was his name?
was weird.
Is it Reich still?
Yeah,
Frank
Was
Reich.
obsessed.
Frank
If you watched HBO, he was like,
so weird.
God Squad, I'm out to get this guy. He's my boy blue. He
was weird.
got Carson Wentz. He wanted him, and then he brought him in, and I think reality hit him.
I think Brian and I both talked about how odd their relationship was.
Really
it was more like buddy instead of
Coach player.
Or like
it was very odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm just,
But-
I like Burks. I think I'm just out on this passing offense to some degree.
Yeah.
But I like Burks where the price is. I'm just not going into this thinking I'm getting 135 targets. That to me, that isn't really a scenario to me.
And Burks is a guy that you could put like his comparable is AJ Brown, and like there's not many players that get the yards per reception like AJ Brown, but he could do it on low work. Let's move over to the Texans, or at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let's do it.
5
Okay,
dumpster
so
fires out of 5.
Brian has a 5 dumpster fire out of.
Is this your worst team?
5.
Is this your number one? Are they picking number one in the 2023 draft? Brian, is that where you're at? Okay.
Man.
Dude,
I mean, I'm probably right there.
They have Brandon Cooks. Poor Brandon
If
Cooks.
you ask Rob and I think PFF, they have a quarterback, but I'm just not
Dude,
there.
Rob also thinks ARSB is going to be receiver 9. He's not even going to be receiver 9 on his
You're
own
derailing. Go back to the Davis Mills hate. So is there anybody here that we're liking for the price? Because I know Brandon Cooks falls a lot in drafts. Or
That's
is
it.
it kinda just
That's the
avoiding
guy.
because Davis Mills. Okay.
It's Brandon Cooks to me.
You know he's a crowd favorite, Damian Pierce. I mean, I still want nothing to do with any running back on this team. I mean, there's a chance you like I think I took Marlon Mack in like the 17th round of our dynasty startup the other day. And I felt like that was decent value because it's like, okay, maybe it was the 15th actually. And 14 teams. And I'm just like, I have 2 running backs on my team. So I was just taking dart throws that maybe one of them will pan out. I think Damian Pierce actually went way before Mac did.
He
too.
does. He does. Yeah. Brian, I actually kind of come to learn something about this because I was the one talking about Dameon Pierce on one of our shows. And then I brought up the fact that Marlon Mack's currently a starter and look where you can draft an RB1. And I'm going to go ahead and pull my bid out on both of those players because when I did my deep dive on the Texans, I learned that their leading running back last year had 400 yards.
Yeah, was that
Rex? Was it
Was that
Rex?
Yeah, he had
Or is
40
it still-
yes.
Yeah, dude,
What did
they
Ingram
had
lead
like
with?
4 running backs, and they
Say that
just
again
were
now?
like it was like they were carrying the plays in.
They
They just
went
swapped
it Ingram
400,
lead
200, 200, and 150. And Ingram
What
had
did Ingram have?
294. 294.
Okay.
And
Terrible.
if you
700
thought to
yards.
yourself, yeah, they didn't have the yards, but they scored some touchdowns. Also not true.
Yeah, no, I don't want any part of their backfield. I don't want any
That's
part
where
of the
I've gotten to.
receivers outside of Brandon Cooks. And I mean, obviously Brandon Cooks isn't a sexy pick. He's like your late or bottom, low wide receiver 2 is what I'm trying to say.
Maybe one of
Well,
the best flexes in fantasy because he's not a sexy wide receiver 2, probably doesn't have huge upside, but my goodness, is he just a stable and secure and great flex player.
Are you talking about his mental
and, like-
health, or are you talking about?
He's stable, secure.
I have some data that I've been working on with the day 3 running backs, which would be Dameon Pierce. And we typically, in the last 11 seasons, we've had 19 fall into the top 12. The last 11 seasons, we have 37 day 3 running backs fall into the top 30. So about 1.72. So almost 2
Percent?
RBs. 1.72 RBs. The
Per
percent
year.
is actually about 14% will fall into the top 12. So is Dameon Pierce one of those in that 14%?
My answer is no. And here's the thing. Here's the reason. All offseason, I've said I don't want running backs on bad offenses. And then I sold myself in the idea of there's an RB1 here, but I'm going back to I just don't want a running back in a bad offense. I just don't think it's good. So my answer is no, but it's not a 0% chance. What do you think, Mario?
I'm not buying either of them. I have no love for them. If they're a back that's catching passes in a bad offense, I am hungry for it all day. I actually target that at Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, but
Different
if
scenario.
it's not a guy that I'm expecting to get loaded with targets, no, thank you.
Yeah, you're behind. You're between. I mean, bad offenses don't score touchdowns. That's kind of the issue. So then you're telling me, and we're saying, receiving backs are a different story. So if your bad offense doesn't score touchdowns, and you're telling me my running back gets all that nice running work in between the 20s, you can keep it. I'll pass.
Yep. Brian, you wanted this picture up. You're just
Yeah, I
kinda
wanted to
staring.
picture up because it's interesting. Because Cody's doing all this slander on the Texans, and yet they have the least losses in NFL history.
Since 2002.
What's
I
so
know.
sad is that the Browns have that many.
What's so sad is that they're about to pass the Ravens in like 15 less years. Actually, apparently
It's
that says only
6.
6, but whatever. I think it's still funny.
That is funny. I like it a lot. Yeah, it's really good.
Uh,
Are the Seahawks that new of a team? I don't think I knew that.
1976?
Oh, does that say 76? I'm sorry.
What'd you think it said? Yeah, I think
Well-
the newest are Baltimore Panthers. I didn't know Jags were that new too.
Well, really, more with the Seahawks, I was focusing on the fact that they were 28th in losses. I'm like, how are they so low on this list? But 76,
Yeah.
I mean, there's just been teams around a long time, basically.
Yeah, I mean, Cards been around since 1920. It has on here. So
Yeah.
Lions, Giants, they're all been. I wish it would have just did percentages. I think it would have been more telling to see the Browns lead in the charge.
Yeah.
Brian, you had one more picture. Let me see if I can pull it here.
This picture is
I
great.
swear I had it open, but
This is the
okay,
picture
let
that
me
really
zoom in on
shows
it.
you just the tier that Davis Mills is in. It shows him high above the rest of the
Here it
league.
comes.
And this is just a picture that just gets better the longer that
My
you
computer
look
is dying.
No, he's up
Mike
there with
Glennon
Zach
2.0.
Wilson, clearly.
Is it
Yeah, it's showing.
Okay, he's not even the funniest part of this picture, actually.
Dude, actually, the longer you look at it, the better it gets. Look at the bottom right corner there.
That's what I'm saying. Kyler is that's actually the more funny part of this whole picture is how tiny they made Kyler.
I think it's hilarious. You got Matthew Stafford in the too early to tell tier. He just won a Super Bowl. He's been in the league for 15 years.
Tom
Brady.
Brady and too early to tell is even better.
Elite.
Age
Jameis
45.
Jared Goff. Mario, I think you can scroll down. I
seems
think
like
there's
they
more below as well.
They did get Zach Wilson.
Who is
right,
this?
though.
Is this Trubisky?
Maybe.
Who is that?
Scroll down.
What's
Go
the
down.
jersey?
I'm gonna press. Carson Wentz injured, jail.
I have no idea
Wait,
why Aaron
that-
Rodgers.
I think
is
I
not
missed
off.
something. Yeah, why is Aaron Rodgers going to jail?
I have no clue, and I have no idea
Why
why
is
Dak
that?
Prescott is unranked. I don't know.
And
I think those are the got. Is that the got punched
Dan
in the face
Marino?
group?
Is that Troy Aikman? I
Did-
can't tell.
that's Dan Marino.
It's definitely not Aikman, but yeah.
It's Marino. Am I muted?
No, you're not muted. We hear you.
Right.
I think
I
the
actually
title of
was
it's funny,
wondering.
too.
So Mario,
Who'll be
I
ranked
mean,
in
I'm just
fifth?
going to ask the question, and not really for fantasy purposes. Any Davis Mills is the real deal. for you, Love?
Dude, I can't seem to buy into it. I'm pulling for him though. It's one of those guys where I'm like everyone is writing him off. I would love to see him make a career out of this and just kind of take the Texans to not shitty.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it'd be good anytime soon. So I'm pulling for him, but no, I don't know. Like, not at least in fantasy. Maybe he's an official.
Yeah. Brian, what about you? I mean, any inkling that he's a thing?
No.
I think I'm
actually brought this up the
lagging
other
a
day
little
about like
all the
I don't even want to get into
stuff
it because
Brian's giving me.
Cody, why don't you go ahead and lead us out?
Yep. I think we might have lost our boy Mario. All right, man. Well, I think that wraps us up for the AFC South. Can you plug me some social media, Brian? You know I'm never good at that part.
No, where is it?
Look at the top of the screen though, which is
It's not
turned
even
off and
there.
hasn't been this whole time. Who turned that off? I blame Mario. Graphics.
This is getting
here, I'm
ugly.
gonna plug the social medias right here.
Hey,
There they are.
There you go.
Look up Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. That's all we got for you.
Yep. All right. I'm Cody for Mario. Brian, thanks for listening.
Adios.
Peace.